we go. The committee will come to order. Before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to address the guests in the audience. First of all, thank you for coming. We think engaged citizens are welcome and a valuable part of the political process. I do want to remind the guests in the audience that the chair is obliged under the House rules and the rules of the committee to maintain order and preserve decorum in the committee room. I know that we have deep feelings on these issues and that we all may not agree on everything, but I ask that we abide by these rules and be respectful of our audience members, our viewers, and our witnesses. The chair appreciates the audience cooperation in maintaining order as we have a full discussion on these important issues. The chair recognizes herself for 5 minutes for an opening statement. Mr. Chu, you are here because the American people need the truth about the threat TikTok poses to our national and personal security. TikTok collects nearly every data point imaginable, from people's location to what they type and copy, who they talk to, biometric data, and more. Even if they've never been on TikTok, your trackers are embedded in sites across the web. TikTok surveils us all. And the Chinese Communist Party is able to use this as a tool to manipulate America as a whole. We do not trust TikTok will ever embrace American values, values for freedom, human rights, and innovation. TikTok has repeatedly chosen the path for more control, more surveillance, and more manipulation. Your platform should be banned. I expect today you'll say anything to avoid this outcome, like you are 100% responsible for what TikTok does, that you suddenly endorse a national data privacy standard, that Project Texas is more than a marketing scheme, that TikTok doesn't harm our innocent children, or that your ties to the Chinese Communist Party through ByteDance is just a myth. We aren't buying it. In fact, when you celebrate the 150 million American users on TikTok, it emphasizes the urgency for Congress to act. That is 150 million Americans that CCP can collect sensitive information on and control what we ultimately see, hear, and believe. TikTok has repeatedly been caught in the lie that it does not answer to the CCP through ByteDance. Today, the CCP's laws require Chinese companies like ByteDance to spy on their behalf. That means any Chinese company must grant the CCP access and manipulation capabilities as a design feature. Right now, ByteDance is under investigation by the DOJ for surveilling American journalists, both digital activity and physical movements through TikTok. We also know that many of your employees still report directly to Beijing. Internal recordings reveal there is a backdoor for China to access user data across the platform. Your employees said, quote, "Everything is seen in China." A gateway to spy is not the only way TikTok and ByteDance can do the bidding of the CCP. TikTok has helped erase events and people China wants the world to forget. It's even censored an American teenager who exposed CCP's genocide and torture of Uyghur Muslims. The facts show that ByteDance is beholden to the CCP, and ByteDance and TikTok are one and the same. TikTok also targets our children. The For You algorithm is a tool for TikTok to own their attention and prey on their innocence. Within minutes of creating an account, your algorithm can promote suicide, self-harm, and eating disorders to children. It encourages challenges for them to put their lives in danger and allows adults to prey on our beautiful, beloved daughters. It's also a portal for drug dealers to sell illicit fentanyl that China has banned, yet is helping Mexican cartels produce, send across our border, and poison our children. In China, the CCP proactively prohibits this type of TikTok content that promotes death and despair to kids. From the data it collects to the content it controls, TikTok is a grave threat of foreign influence in American life. It's been said it's like allowing the Soviet Union the power to produce Saturday morning cartoons during the Cold War, but much more powerful and much more dangerous. Banning your platform will address the immediate threats. Make no mistake, this committee is also looking to the future. America needs to be prepared to stop the next technological tool or weapon China will use for its own strategic gain. We must prevent any app, website, and platform like TikTok from ever spying on Americans again. And we must provide the strongest protections possible for our children. That is why this committee is leading on a national privacy and data security standard. It restricts sensitive American data from reaching our adversaries to begin with, and what big tech and data brokers collect, process, store, and sell. It makes it illegal for any platform to track and target children under 17. Mr. Chu, the committee has requested that TikTok appear before us for a long time. For those we serve, we're glad the day has finally come. Today, the world is watching. ByteDance is watching. The Chinese Communist Party is watching. But the answers you owe are to the American people, a free people who cherish their God-given, unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. They deserve the truth. Complete honesty is the standard and the law you are being held to before this committee as we seek to get answers and a full understanding of what happens at TikTok under your watch. Thank you. Chair now recognizes the ranking member, Mr. Pallone, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And let me say that I agree with much of what you just said, and I certainly appreciate your enthusiasm and your commenting on being a mother and concerned about children. And I am glad that we are having this hearing today. Big tech has transformed the information superhighway into a super spreader of harmful content, invasive surveillance practices, and addictive and damaging design features. Data is big tech's most valuable commodity, and by collecting far more user data than they need, big tech platforms can use, share, and sell information to generate billions of dollars in revenue. Today, the American people are powerless to stop this invasion of their privacy, and we can't wait any longer to pass comprehensive national privacy legislation that puts people back in control of their data. We must hold big tech accountable for its actions, and transparency is critical to that accountability. In the past several Congresses, this committee has heard from senior executives of other social media platforms about troubling and repeated instances where they put profits over people. Now, today we intend to bring more transparency to TikTok, which is controlled by its Beijing communist-based parent company, ByteDance. And while TikTok videos provide a new fun way for people to express their creativity and enjoy the videos of others, the platform also threatens the health, privacy, and security of the American people. And I'm not convinced that the benefits outweigh the risks that it poses to Americans in its present form. More than 130 million people in the United States use TikTok every month, including 2/3 of American teenagers. TikTok collects and compiles vast troves of valuable personal information to create an addictive algorithm that is able to predict with uncanny accuracy which videos will keep users scrolling, even if the content is harmful, inaccurate, or feeds destructive behavior or extremist beliefs. Now, the combination of TikTok's Beijing communist-based China ownership and its popularity exacerbates its danger to our country and to our privacy. The Chinese Communist government can compel companies based in Beijing, like TikTok, to share data with the Communist government through existing Beijing law or coercion. National security experts are sounding the alarm, warning that the Chinese Communist government could require TikTok to compromise device security, maliciously access American user data, promote pro-communist propaganda, and undermine American interests. Disinformation campaigns could be launched by the Chinese Communist government through TikTok, which has already become rife with misinformation and disinformation, illegal activities, and hate speech. A recent report found that 20% of TikTok search results on prominent news topics contain misinformation. Social media's profitability depends on growth and engagement. More eyes on their content for longer time leads to more advertising dollars and revenue generation. Addictive algorithms are fine-tuned to optimize growth and engagement without necessarily taking into account potential harms to users. Children and teens are particularly vulnerable. Frequent online use of interactive media on digital devices is associated with increased levels of depression among middle and high school students. Research has found that TikTok's addictive algorithms recommend videos to teens that create and exacerbate feelings of emotional distress, including videos promoting suicide, self-harm, and eating disorders. Public outrage and hollow apologies alone are not going to rein in big tech. Congress has to enact laws protecting the American public from such online harms. And we simply cannot wait any longer to pass the comprehensive privacy legislation that I authored with then-ranking member, now Chair Rogers, last Congress, that overwhelmingly advanced out of the committee. It ensures that companies, wherever they live, it ensures, I should say, that consumers, wherever they live in this country, will have meaningful control over their personal information. Our legislation establishes baseline data minimization requirements, ensuring that companies only collect, process, and transfer data necessary to provide a service. And it provides heightened privacy protections for children and teenagers. So I think it's time to make this legislation the law of the land. And we also have to examine the reforms needed to Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. The liability shield for social media platforms has for too long been abused and led to a lack of accountability for social media platforms. So I hope we can find a bipartisan path forward on that issue too, and I think you're having a hearing next week on it, so we can stop the very real harms to our country and democracy under the current law. I'd look forward to the discussion today as we continue to bring accountability to big tech. And let me say to Mr. Chu, I know this is about TikTok, but I am focusing all my attention not only on TikTok, but on these concerns, wide concerns about social media and the protection of privacy. And with that, I yield back. Thank you again, Madam Chair, for having this very important hearing.
Our witness today is Mr. Shou Chu, Chief Executive Officer of TikTok. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chair Rogers, Ranking Member Pallone, members of the committee, thank you for your time. I am Shou Chu, and I'm from Singapore. That's where I was born, as were my parents. And after serving in Singapore's military, I moved to the UK to attend college, and then here to the US to attend business school. I actually met my wife here. By the way, she was just born a few miles away from here in Virginia. 2 years ago, I became the CEO of TikTok. Today, we have more than 1 billion monthly active users around the world, including over 150 million in the United States. Our app is a place where people can be creative and curious, and where close to 5 million American businesses, mostly small businesses, go to find new customers and to fuel their growth. Now, as TikTok has grown, we've tried to learn the lessons of companies that have come before us, especially when it comes to the safety of teenagers. While the vast majority of people on TikTok are over 18, one of our fastest growing demographics are people over 35. We spent a lot of time adopting measures to protect teenagers. Many of those measures are firsts for the social media industry. We forbid direct messaging for people under 16, and we have a 60-minute watch time by default for those under 18. We have a suite of family pairing tools so that parents can participate in their teens' experience and make the choices that are right for their family. We want TikTok to be a place where teenagers can come to learn, which is why we recently launched a feed that exclusively features educational videos about STEM. STEM videos already have over 116 billion views on TikTok. And I think TikTok is inspiring a new generation to discover a passion for math and science. Now, I would also like to talk about national security concerns that you have raised, that we take very, very seriously. Let me start by addressing a few misconceptions about ByteDance, of which we are a subsidiary. ByteDance is not owned or controlled by the Chinese government. It's a private company. 60% of the company is owned by global institutional investors. 20% is owned by the founder, and 20% owned by employees around the world. ByteDance has 5 board members. 3 of them are American. Now, TikTok itself is not available in mainland China. We're headquartered in Los Angeles and in Singapore, and we have 7,000 employees in the US today. Still, we have heard important concerns about the potential for unwanted foreign access to US data and potential manipulation of the TikTok US ecosystem. Our approach has never been to dismiss or trivialize any of these concerns. We have addressed them with real action. Now, that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years, building what amounts to a firewall that seals off protected US user data from unauthorized foreign access. The bottom line is this: American data stored on American soil by an American company, overseen by American personnel. We call this initiative Project Texas. That's where Oracle is headquartered. Today, US TikTok data is stored by default in Oracle servers. Only vetted personnel operating in a new company called TikTok US Data Security can control access to this data. Now, additionally, we have plans for this company to report to an independent American board with strong security credentials. Now, there's still some work to do. We have legacy US data sitting in our servers in Virginia and in Singapore. We're deleting those, and we expect that to be complete this year. When that is done, all protected US data will be under the protection of US law and under the control of the US-led security team. This eliminates the concern that some of you have shared with me that TikTok user data can be subject to Chinese law. This goes further, by the way, than what any other company in our industry have done. We will also provide unprecedented transparency and security for the source code for the TikTok app and recommendation engine. Third-party validators like Oracle and others will review and validate our source code and algorithms. This will help ensure the integrity of the code that powers what Americans see on our app. We will further provide access to researchers, which helps them study and monitor our content ecosystem. Now, we believe we are the only company that offers this level of transparency. Now, trust is about actions we take. We have to earn that trust with decisions we make for our company and our products. The potential security, privacy, content manipulation concerns raised about TikTok are really not unique to us. The same issues apply to other companies. We believe what's needed are clear, transparent rules that apply broadly to all tech companies. Ownership is not at the core of addressing these concerns. Now, as I conclude, there are more than 150 million Americans who love our platform, and we know we have a responsibility to protect them, which is why I'm making the following commitments to you and to all our users. Number one, we will keep safety, particularly for teenagers, as a top priority for us. Number two, we will firewall protected US data from unwanted foreign access. Number three, TikTok will remain a place for free expression and will not be manipulated by any government. And fourth, we will be transparent and we will give access to third-party independent monitors to remain accountable for our commitments. I'll be grateful for any feedback that you have, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
As you know, the testimony that you're about to give is subject to Title 18, Section 1001 of the United States Code. As you state in your testimony, ByteDance is TikTok's parent company. Is it accurate to say that you are in regular communication with the CEO of ByteDance, Leon Robo?
Chair Rogers, yes, I am in communication with him.
Okay. Kelly Zhang is the CEO of ByteDance China, overseeing Douyin, the Chinese version of TikTok. Are you in regular communication with Kelly?
I'm not in regular communication with her.
The ByteDance editor-in-chief is Zhong Fuping, correct?
I believe so.
And Wu Shugang is Beijing ByteDance technology board member and also an official of the Cyberspace Administration in China. Is this correct?
I believe so. They are not in direct...
Thank you. All of these individuals work or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, are at the highest levels of leadership at ByteDance, a company where you previously served as the chief financial officer and where you regularly communicate with their CEO. TikTok has told us that you weren't sharing data with the CCP, but leaked audio from within TikTok has proven otherwise. TikTok told us that you weren't tracking the geolocation of American citizens. You were. TikTok told us you weren't spying on journalists. You were. In your testimony, you state that ByteDance is not beholden to the CCP. Again, each of the individuals I listed are affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party, including Zhang Fuping, who is reported to be the Communist Party secretary of ByteDance, and who has called for the party committee to, quote, take the lead across all party lines to ensure the algorithm is enforced by, quote, correct political direction. Just this morning, the Wall Street Journal reported that the CCP is opposed to a forced sale of TikTok by ByteDance, quoting a CCP spokesman as saying the Chinese government would make a decision regarding any sale of TikTok. So the CCP believes they have the final say over your company. I have zero confidence in your assertion that ByteDance and TikTok are not beholden to the CCP. Next question. Heating content is a way of promoting and moderating content. In your current or previous positions within Chinese companies, have employees engaged in heating content for users outside of China? Very quickly, yes or no?
Our heating process is approved by our local teams in the various countries.
The answer is yes, thank you. Have any moderation tools been used to remove content on TikTok associated with the Uyghur genocide? Yes or no?
We do not remove that kind of content. TikTok is a place of freedom of expression. And Chair Rogers, like I said, if you use our app, you can go on it and you will see a lot of users around the world expressing content on that topic and many others.
Thank you. What about the massacre in Tiananmen Square? Yes or no?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The massacre in Tiananmen Square.
That kind of content is available on our platform. You can go and search it.
I will remind you that making false or misleading statements to Congress is a federal crime.
I understand. Again, if you go on our platform, you will find that content.
Okay, thank you. Reclaiming my time, can you say with 100% certainty that ByteDance or the CCP cannot use your company or its divisions to heat content to promote pro-CCP messages for an act of aggression against Taiwan?
We do not promote or remove content at the request of the Chinese government.
The question is,
we will replace.
The question is, are you 100% certain that they cannot use your company to promote such messages?
It is our commitment to this committee and all our users that we will keep this free from any manipulation by any government.
If you can't say 100% certain, I take that as a no. As I previously referenced, TikTok spied on American journalists. Can you say with 100% certainty that neither ByteDance nor TikTok employees can target other Americans with similar surveillance techniques?
Chair Rogers, I first of all disagree with the characterization that is spying. It was an internal investigation.
Yes or no? Can you do surveillance of other Americans?
We will protect the U.S. user data and fire it all from all unwanted foreign access. It's a commitment that we've given to the committee.
So I guess my question is, I wanted to hear you say with 100% certainty that neither ByteDance nor TikTok employees can target other Americans with similar surveillance techniques as you did with the journalists.
Again, I don't disagree with the characterization is surveillance, and we have given our commitments, Chair Rogers. The 4 commitments, I think it's our commitment that we will not be influenced by any government on these issues.
DOJ is investigating this surveillance right now. To the American people watching today, hear this: TikTok is a weapon by the Chinese Communist Party to spy on you, manipulate what you see, and exploit for future generations. A ban is only a short-term way to address TikTok, and a data privacy bill is the only way to stop TikTok from ever happening again in the United States. I yield back. I now yield to the ranking member for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me just start out by saying, Mr. Chu, that I don't find what you suggested with Project Texas and this firewall that's being suggested to whoever will be acceptable to me. In other words, you know, I still believe that the Beijing Communist government will still control and have the ability to influence what you do. And so this idea, this Project Texas, is simply not acceptable. According to a recent report, TikTok is on target to make between $15 and $18 billion in revenue this year. Is that an accurate forecast?
Congressman, as a private company, we are not sharing our
I thought
numbers
that's what you would
publicly.
say. How much money will TikTok make by delivering personalized advertisements just to your users in the United States? Will you give me that information?
Again, Congressman, respectfully, as a
I
private
thought
company,
that's
we're
what
not
you would
disclosing
say.
that.
Look, the impression you're giving, and I know, I can understand why you're trying to give that impression, is that, that you're just performing some kind of public service here, right? I mean, this is a benign company that's just performing a public service. Maybe that's not what you're saying, but I don't buy it, right? My concern here is primarily about the privacy issue, the fact that TikTok is making all kinds of money by gathering private information about Americans that they don't need for their business purposes, and then they sell it. And I mentioned this legislation that the chair and I have that would minimize data collection and make it much more difficult for TikTok and other companies to do that. So if you want to make some commitments today, I'll ask you to make some commitments with regard to this legislation. And, you're going to tell me, well, the bill isn't passed, and so therefore I don't have to do it. But, you say you're benign, you want to do good things for the public. So let me ask you, why not, what about a commitment that says that you won't sell the data that you collect? Would you commit to that, not selling the data you collect?
Congressman, I believe we don't sell data to any data brokers.
You don't sell to anyone.
We don't sell data to data brokers.
I didn't ask you data brokers. You sell it to anyone. In other words, under our bill, you could only use the data for your own purposes, not to sell it to anyone. Would you commit to not selling your data to anyone?
Congressman, I actually am in support of some rules.
I didn't
privacy.
ask you whether the rules. I asked you whether the company, TikTok, would commit to not selling its data to anyone and just using it for its own purposes internally.
I can get back to you on the details of that.
Get back to me. All right. Another thing that's in our bill says that we would prohibit targeting marketing to people under the age of 17. Would you be willing to agree to prohibit targeted marketing to people, Americans under the age of 17?
Congressman, we have actually stricter rules for advertisers in terms of what they can show to our users
So do you
under the age of 18.
would you be willing to prohibit targeted marketing to those under 17? That's what's in our bill.
I understand that there's some talk and some legislation around the country.
Well, again, I'm wanting you to make that commitment without the legislation. Since you say you're a good company, you want to do good things, why not?
It's something we can look into and get back to you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Okay, we also have in our bill a requirement of heightened protection for sensitive data, particularly location and health data. Would you commit to not gathering or dealing with location or health data unless you get affirmative consent from the consumer? In other words, under our bill, those are categorized as sensitive, and unless the person specifically says, I want you to collect that data, you wouldn't be able to, location and health data. Would you commit to that?
Congressman, in principle, I support that. Which, by the way, we do not collect precise GPS data at this point, and I do not believe we collect any health data.
All right, so would you be willing to make that commitment that from now on you won't collect location and health data without, you're saying at all? Is that a commitment?
This is data that's frequently collected by many other companies in our industry.
I know other companies do it. I don't think they should without affirmative consent. You said you want to be a good actor. So why not make that commitment to me today?
We're committed to be very transparent with our users about what we collect. I don't believe what we collect is more than most players in the industry.
My problem here is you're trying to give the impression that you're going to move away from Beijing and the Communist Party. You're trying to give the impression that you're a good actor. But the commitments that we would seek to achieve those goals are not being made today. They're just not being made. You're going to continue to gather data. You're going to continue to sell data. You're going to continue to do all these things and continue to be under the aegis of the Communist Party through your organization that owns you. So, in any case, thank you, Madam Chair.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Burgess, for 5 minutes.
I thank the chair. Thank you, Mr. Chu, for joining us today. I think we've heard you say multiple times that TikTok is not a Chinese company, that ByteDance is not a Chinese company. But according to an article in today's Wall Street Journal, quoting here, China's Commerce Ministry said Thursday that a sale or divestiture of TikTok will involve exporting technology that has to be approved by the Chinese government. Continuing to quote, the reported efforts by the Biden administration would severely undermine global investors' confidence in the U.S., said Xu Juting, a ministry spokeswoman. Continuing to quote, if that is true, China will firmly oppose it, she said, referring to the forced sale. So despite your assertions to the contrary, China certainly thinks it is in control of TikTok and its software. Is that not correct?
Congressman, TikTok is not available in mainland China. And today we're headquartered in Los Angeles and Singapore. But I'm not saying that the founders of ByteDance are not Chinese, nor am I saying that we don't make use of Chinese employees, just like many other companies around the world. We do use their expertise on some engineering projects.
But according to their ministry spokeswoman, it would be a divestiture of exporting technology from China. So again, China thinks they own it, even though you do not. Madam Chair, I'd just like to ask unanimous consent to put today's Wall Street Journal
Without objection, so ordered.
into the record. And Mr. Chu, I wouldn't ask you to discuss any privileged attorney-client materials, but did anyone aside from your lawyers assist you in preparation for today's hearing?
I prepared for this hearing with my team here in D.C.
Did anyone at ByteDance directly provide input, help, or instruction for your testimony today?
Congressman, this is a very high-profile hearing. My phone is full of well wishes. But I prepared for this hearing with my team here in D.C.
Are you willing to share who helped prepare you for this hearing with the committee? And you can do that
I can
in writing.
follow up with you if
Okay.
you like.
Can you guarantee that no one at ByteDance had a role in preparing you for today's hearing?
Like I said, Congressman, this is a high-profile hearing. A lot of people around the world were sending me wishes and unsolicited advice, but I prepared for this hearing with my team here in D.C.
Are the attorneys representing TikTok also representing ByteDance?
Yes, I believe so.
What percentage of TikTok revenue does ByteDance retain? Just give me a ballpark estimate if you don't precisely know.
Congressman, like I said, as a private company, we are not prepared to disclose our financials in public today.
But can we ask you to get back to us with a ballpark? We're not asking for the precise figures, but to get so the committee can have some understanding of the percentage of TikTok revenue that ByteDance retains.
I understand the question. Respectfully, as a private company, we are not disclosing our financials today.
Prior to today's hearing, did anyone affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party discuss this hearing with you, or anyone else on TikTok senior management?
Congressman, since I've been CEO of this company, I have not had any discussions with Chinese government officials.
So but what about the Chinese Communist Party itself? Have any of those officials discussed this with you?
Like I said, I have not had any discussion with Chinese government officials. I don't know the political affiliation of everybody I speak to, so I can't verify the statement.
Let me ask you a question in a different direction. A few weeks ago, this committee had a field hearing down in McAllen, Texas, and it was on the issue of fentanyl and illegal immigration. And one of our witnesses, Brandon Judd, a 25-year veteran Border Patrol agent, said that all social media platforms play a role in illegal immigration. That's one of the ways cartels advertise their services throughout the world and convince people to put themselves in their hands and come to the United States. The cartels all use social media platforms. Are you aware of this phenomenon?
Any content that promotes human abuse is violative of our community guidelines, which dictates what is allowed and not allowed on our platform. We proactively identify and remove them from our platform.
Well, it would be very helpful if you would share with the committee examples of how you have removed people, because what we heard at the hearing was that TikTok was one of the platforms that recruits adolescents in the United States to help with transporting people who are in the country who've been trafficked into the country, as well as contraband substances. Would you help us with that, understanding who you have removed from your platform?
Congressman, I'll be delighted to check with my team and get back to yours. and be collaborative.
Thank you. I'll yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair recognizes the lady from California, Ms. Eshu, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Chu, thank you for being here today. As members of Congress, our very first and top responsibility is to protect and defend. Protect and defend our Constitution and the national security of our country. So I view this entire issue, now there are many parts of it that are not part of our national security, in my view, but first and foremost for our national security. So in examining TikTok breaking away from ByteDance, I'd like to ask you some questions about that and how a severance in terms of the relationship with ByteDance, how user data, American user data, would be protected. Now, under Beijing's security laws, Article 7 compels companies to provide data. Article 10 makes the reach of the law extraterritorial. Now, this is very clear. I don't need to read all of it into the record, but those are the laws of the PRC. How does ByteDance, how does TikTok, rather, how do you convince the Congress of the United States that there can be a clean break? Why would the Chinese government sidestep their national law, including Article 7, Article 10, in terms of user data?
Congressman, thank you for the question. I'm glad you asked this. As I said in the opening statement, our plan is to move American data to be stored on American soil by the American company.
I understand that, but you're sidestepping, or I haven't read anything in terms of TikTok, how you can actually say, and you spoke in your opening statement about a firewall relative to the data, but the Chinese government has that data. How can you promise that that will move into the United States of America and be protected here?
Congressman, I have seen no evidence that the Chinese government has access to that data. They have never asked us. We have not provided.
Well, you know what? I find that actually preposterous.
I have looked in. I have seen no evidence of this happening. And in order to assure everybody here and all our users, our commitment is to move the data into the United States to be stored on American soil by an American company, overseen by American personnel. So the risk will be similar to any government going to an American company asking for data. If that.
Well, I'm one that doesn't believe that there is really a private sector in China. And when you look at their national law and what specifically these two articles, Article 7 and Article 10, are very clear. So I think that there is a real problem relative to our national security about the protection of the user data. I don't believe that TikTok has, that you have said or done anything to convince us that information, the personal information of 150 million Americans, that the Chinese government is not going to give that up. So can you tell me who writes the algorithms for TikTok?
Today, the algorithm that powers the US user experience is running in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Yes, you know, initially there were parts of the source code, especially at the infrastructure layer, that doesn't touch the user experience. Now, that's a collaborative global effort including built by engineers in China, just like many other companies, by the way. The phone you use, the car you drive is a global collaborative effort. Now, but today, the business sites and the main parts of the code for TikTok is written by TikTok employees. And Congresswoman, what we are offering is third-party monitoring of our source code. I am not aware of any company, American companies or otherwise, that has actually done that. Because we are saying we want to give you transparency and rely on third parties to make sure that we get all the comfort that we need about the experience.
Well, my time is up, and I yield back. Thank you.
Lady yields back. Pleased to yield to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Latta, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Unlike the Chinese Communist Party, the United States believes in individual freedom, innovation, and entrepreneurship. That is, in part, why Congress enacted Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Our goal is to promote growth of the online ecosystem in the United States and to protect companies from being held liable for good faith efforts to moderate their platforms. Last year, a federal judge in Pennsylvania found that Section 230 protected TikTok from being held responsible for the death of a 10-year-old girl who participated in a blackout challenge, also known as the choking challenge. TikTok actively pushes video on her feed. Unfortunately, this is one of the many devastating examples of children losing their lives because of content promoted by TikTok. Section 230 was never intended to shield companies like yours from amplifying dangerous and life-threatening content to children. Do you consider this to be a good faith moderation?
Congressman, as a father myself, when I hear about the tragic deaths of
My
young
question
people,
is,
it's
do
heartbreaking.
you find that good faith moderation?
Well, Congressman, Section 230 is a very complex issue.
Yes or no?
We are very focused on safety, and all these dangerous
I'm gonna have to
challenges
assume
are
that as a
removed
no.
when we find them.
Do you believe TikTok deserves this liability protection?
I'm sorry, Congressman.
Do you believe that TikTok deserves this liability protection under Section 230?
Congressman, as you pointed out, 230 has been very important for freedom of expression on the internet. It's one of the commitments we have given to this committee and our users, and I do think it's important to preserve that. But companies should be raising the bar on safety.
Let me follow
I
up.
really agree with
Let me
that.
just follow up real quickly from your own testimony. When you told us and you repeated it, we'll keep safety, particularly for teenagers, a top priority for us. When you're saying you're making that following commitment, why did you have to wait till now to make that following commitment now and not having done it before when this 10-year-old lost her life?
Congressman, I'm reiterating the commitment.
Okay.
Internally, in all my priorities, which is public to my employees, safety has always been a priority.
This company is a picture-perfect example of why this committee and Congress needs to take action immediately to amend Section 230. When we recently met, I asked you if the Chinese Communist Party can currently access user data, and you did not have a clear answer. So today I want to follow up. You heard it a little bit, but I want to be absolutely sure of this answer. Are employees of ByteDance subject to Chinese law, including the 2017 National Intelligence Law, which requires any organization or citizen to support, assist, and cooperate with state intelligence work in accordance with the law?
Like many companies, including many American companies, we rely on a global workforce, including engineers in China.
Okay, but no, yes or no?
So in the past, yes.
sorry?
The past, yes, but we are building Project Texas, and we're committing the firewall of all protected data from unwanted foreign access.
Taking that as a yes because, again, under your Article 7, the Article 7 of the 2017 National Intelligence Law, which I just said, because it says, in addition, as was asked a little bit earlier, the 2014 counter-espionage law states that when the state security organ investigates and understands the situation of espionage and collect relevant evidence, the relevant organizations and individuals, it does not say may, it says shall provide it truthfully and may not refuse. Yes or no? Do any ByteDance employees in China, including engineers, currently have access to U.S. user data?
Today, all U.S. user data is stored by default in the Oracle Cloud infrastructure, and access to that is controlled
do any
by American
ByteDance
personnel.
employees in China, including engineers, currently have access to U.S. data?
Congressman, I would appreciate this. This is a complex topic. Today, all data is
Yes,
stored
yes or
by
no?
default.
It's not that complex. Yes or no, do they have access to user data?
We have, after Project Texas is done, the answer is no. Today, there is still
So
some
you're
data
saying
that we need
yes,
to delete.
but we've heard
from
already
Virginia
from the
and
ranking member that he doesn't, and that he doesn't really see that Project Texas is going to be useful. So I think I'm taking that as a no because, again, the question is what came to come up earlier, that on December the 22nd of last year, when ByteDance confirmed some of its Chinese employees had accessed TikTok data to monitor and track the physical location of journalists. So I took that as a yes from an earlier answer. You know, earlier this week, you posted a TikTok video asking American users to mobilize in support of your app and oppose the potential U.S. government action to ban TikTok in the United States. Based on the established relationship between your company and the Chinese Communist Party, it's impossible for me to conclude that the video is anything different than the type of propaganda that the CCP requires Chinese companies to push on its citizens. Now yield back.
Yields back. Chair recognizes the lady from Colorado, Ms. DeGette, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Chu, like my colleagues, I'm concerned about the influence of China on TikTok and what that does for U.S. users. But I'm also concerned about how the content in TikTok is being distributed, particularly to young people. This is not a problem unique to TikTok, but TikTok has 150 million users in the United States. And so I think you'll agree that TikTok has a particular responsibility to monitor content to make sure that it's safe and accurate. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I agree with that.
So, you know, I know you said in your opening statement there's a ban or limited for kids under 13 and under 18 and so on. But I know it won't be news for you that computer savvy kids actually can bypass some of those restrictions quite frequently, and they can do it even if they have parental oversight. And so what I want to ask you is rather than putting the burden on young people and parents to accurately put in the birth date and so on when registering for TikTok, I want to ask you what TikTok can do to make sure to monitor this content. And I want to give you some examples of some of the extreme content. Mr. Latta talked about the blackout challenge and some of the dangers to young people's safety, but there's also extreme content around healthcare information. In one study, 13 out of 20 results for the question, does mugwort induce abortion? It talked about herbal so-called abortifacients like papaya seeds, which don't work. And so if people searching for information on safe abortions went on TikTok, they could get devastatingly incorrect information. Another study showed that TikTok had a hydroxychloroquine tutorial on how to fabricate this from grapefruit. Now, there's two problems with that. Number one, hydroxychloroquine is not effective in treating COVID, so that's one issue. The second issue is you can't even make hydroxychloroquine from grapefruit. So again, this is a really serious miscommunication about healthcare information that people looking at TikTok are able to get, and in fact, it's being pushed out to them. So I want to know from you, and I will give you time to answer this. You have current controls, but the current controls are not working to keep this information mainly from young people, but from Americans in general. What more is TikTok doing to try to strengthen its review to keep this information from coming across to people?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. The dangerous misinformation that you mentioned is not allowed on our platform. It violates them.
I'm sorry to report it is on your platform, though.
Congresswoman, I don't think I can sit here and say that we are perfect in doing this. We do work very hard.
So how can you make yourself more perfect? I don't want you to say it's not there or you apologize. What can you do to limit it as much as possible, more than what you're doing now.
We invest a significant amount in our content moderation work. I shared that number in my written
I know
testimony.
you're investing,
Yes.
but what steps are you taking to improve the AI or whatever else you're doing to limit this content?
For example, if you search for certain search terms, we do direct you on TikTok to safety resources. That's one of the things we have done. We will continue to invest in this. I recognize and fully align with you that this is a problem that faces our industry, that we need to really invest and address. This, I'm very in alignment. The vast majority of our users come to our platform for entertaining, safe content. But there are people who do spout some dangerous misinformation, and we need to take that very seriously, invest in it, proactively identify it, and remove it from our platform.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right now. I asked you specifically how you're trying to increase your review of this, and you gave me only generalized statements that you're investing, that you're concerned, that you're doing more. That's not enough for me. That's not enough for the parents of America. I'm going to ask you to supplement your testimony and have your experts tell me what you're doing to make this a higher level of scrutiny, not just pablum at a hearing. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
Lady yields back. Chair recognizes gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Morris Rogers, for holding this important hearing. I appreciate the witness, Mr. Shoji Chu, for making yourself available here today. While many consider TikTok to be just another video sharing app, in reality, TikTok has been functioning as a massive surveillance program, collecting vast swaths of personal data from more than 1 billion people worldwide. This includes data from the personal devices of federal employees, contractors, and most concerning, U.S. military service members and their families at places like Fort Bragg in North Carolina. As Fort Bragg's congressman, I have serious concerns about the opportunities TikTok gives the Chinese Communist Party to access the non-public sensitive data of our men and women in uniform. This personal data and location information can be harvested and could be used for blackmail, to conduct espionage, and to possibly even reveal troop movements. While the Department of Defense and most agencies have banned TikTok on government-issued devices, I believe more needs to be done at the command level to urge troops and their dependents to erase the app from the personal devices and keep them off home Wi-Fi. Having an app banned on a device in one pocket but downloaded on your device in the other doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I believe Congress and DoD should address the continued use of TikTok on military installations as well as any use that depicts U.S. military operations. Mr. Chu, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
Only if the user turns on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, I may not understand the
So if I have
question.
TikTok app on my phone and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network, does TikTok access that network?
It will have to access the network to get connections to the internet, if that's the question.
Is it possible then that it could access other devices on that home Wi-Fi network?
Congressman, we do not do anything that is beyond any industry norms. I believe the answer to your question is no. It could be technical. Let me get back to you.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you could answer that. I'd like to change directions real quick. Do you receive personal employment, salary, compensation, or benefits from ByteDance?
Yes, I do.
What is your salary from ByteDance?
Congressman, if you don't mind, I would prefer to keep my compensation private.
Okay. Do you personally have any company shares or stock in ByteDance or Douyin?
Congressman, if you don't mind, I would like to keep my personal assets private.
Is TikTok the company your only source of employment compensation? Where's your other source of income outside of TikTok?
It's my only source of compensation.
Do you have any financial debts or obligations to ByteDance, Douyin, or any other ByteDance affiliated entity?
Personally? No, I do not.
Does your management team receive separate salary, compensation, or benefits from ByteDance?
We receive salaries from the entities that we are employed in, but we do share in the employee stock option plan that is available from the ByteDance top company.
So your primary salary comes from TikTok, but you have other compensation that comes directly from ByteDance?
You can characterize it as that, yes.
Does your management team have company shares or stock in ByteDance or Douyin?
Yes, some of our employees are compensated in shares in ByteDance.
Does TikTok share technological resources with Douyin? Are the two technology systems or IT systems interconnected in any way?
There are, as with many companies, some shared resources on some services, but it doesn't include anything that involves US user data, Congressman, is in Project Texas, as we talked about, stored by default in American soil by an
Will
American
be,
company.
but currently there is shared technology or interconnected IT systems.
Congressman, with respect, I have to get back to you. This could be a very broad question. Like, for example, we could all be using Microsoft Windows.
Yeah, if you could get back with details on that, I'd appreciate
Yes.
it. Can Douyin personnel or employees access TikTok user data?
Not after Project Texas, this is not allowed.
Are there employees who are employed by both Douyin and TikTok?
I do not believe so.
Okay. And so I don't believe so. Is that it? I mean, if, again, I'll allow you to come back in the written response if you could give me a definitive answer.
I will go back and check to be very sure.
Okay, thank you. I'm also concerned about an issue that our chairwoman brought up about an apparent pattern of misinformation or misrepresentation from your company in regards to the amount and extent of data that you're collecting, as well as how much has been accessed from inside China. There are dozens of public reports that conclude individuals in the People's Republic of China have been accessing data on U.S. users, directly contradicting several public statements by TikTok employees. And I'm referencing Project Raven, which was first reported on by Forbes last October. Their investigation revealed, I'm sorry, I'm about out of time. Do you want to respond to that?
Yes, Congressman. We do not condone the effort by certain former employees to access U.S. TikTok user data in an attempt to identify the source of leaked confidential information. We condemn these actions. After learning about them, we found a highly reputable law firm to thoroughly investigate the incident. We took swift disciplinary action against employees who were found to be involved and are implementing measures to make sure this doesn't happen again. We have made this team available to you. I think they have briefed many of you in this committee very extensively, and I will continue to make them very available to you as part of our transparent commitment.
Thank you. My time's expired. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the lady from Illinois, Ms. Shirkowski, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. So today, in the Wall Street Journal, they said, today, China's commerce minister said that China opposes the sale of TikTok because it would involve exporting China's technology and would, and this is the important part, and would need to be approved by the Chinese government. Would need to be approved by the Chinese government. So all of what you've been saying about the distance between TikTok and China has been said to be not true in the paper today, and I would like to see what you have to say in response.
Congresswoman, I do disagree with that characterization. I think we have designed Project Texas to protect U.S. user interests and to move forward here in the U.S. Again, it's the protections of storing American data on American soil by an American company looked after by American personnel. And I do not think that our commitments to this committee and all our users is impacted by any event that you mentioned. Now, the whole discussion on this, the resolution of this is an ongoing and developing event. So we will continue to pay attention to this, and we'll get back to you when we have more specifics.
So
my commitments stand. Yeah.
Okay, so if it's an ongoing debate, apparently with China, so it's hard to say with any certainty that China would not have any influence. But let me ask another question. Last fall, along with Gus Bilirakis, who were chair and co-chair of the subcommittee together, were told that TikTok had surveilled, was involved in surveillance of users, very personal information. And you might say, well, not more than other companies, and I agree with Ranking Member Pallone that I really don't want to go by that standard particularly, but that TikTok's in-app browser surveilled everything from Americans, including passwords and credit card numbers, et cetera. So I just want to ask you if TikTok did track and collect this sensitive data that Americans don't want to have disclosed.
Congressman, thank you. I'm glad you asked this question because, like you pointed out, we actually do not believe we collect more data than any other social media company out there. A lot of these reports, and we can talk about which specific one you're talking about, a lot of them are not that accurate. Some of them we have actually gotten in touch with the authors to help them understand the data that we're collecting. A lot of it is speculation. This is something they could do. But if you look at the subtext, this is something that every company could do.
I'm running out of time. Let me just say that if TikTok chose not to take this sensitive information that you don't need for a transaction and support our comprehensive privacy bill, that would be very helpful. The other thing I wanted to ask, so really this is a yes or no, that does TikTok share user information from companies, from parent companies, from affiliated, or send user information to overseas?
In the past, yes, for interoperability purposes. Now, after Project Texas, all protected U.S. data will be stored here with the access controlled by a special team of U.S. personnel. Again, Congresswoman, this is something that, as far as I understand, no other company, including American companies, are willing to go. So maybe this is something that we can ask the industry to provide, not just us, to protect U.S. user interests.
In the case of sharing information, I do want to quote from employees that you had, and here's the quote. Everything is seen in China, is really what they said. People who were in touch with the sensitive data were saying that. How do you respond to that?
I disagree with that statement.
Well, I know you disagree with that statement, but my point is, how does that happen that employees of the company are saying that, in fact, that's not true?
I cannot speak to, I don't know who this person is, so I cannot speak to what the person has or has not said. What I can say is, based on my position in this company and the responsibility that I have, that statement is just not true.
Okay, unfortunately, and I'll close, I guess I'm over my time, we need to look into the facts of this, and so do you. And I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes the lady from Florida, Ms. Kamek, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Mr. Shou, are you aware of Chinese Communist Party leader Chairman Xi Jinping's comments in May 2021 during a Communist Politburo study session where he instructed colleagues to target different countries, different audiences with short-form video? Are you aware of these comments? Yes or no?
Congressman, I'm not aware of these comments.
Okay. Well, and as was pointed out by Chairwoman Rogers, you have regular contact with Chinese Communist Party Secretary, Mr. Zhang Fuping, who is your boss at ByteDance, correct?
No.
No.
No, he's neither my boss, nor do we have frequent contact.
But you have regular contact with ByteDance.
With the CEO of ByteDance.
Who is, Mr. Zhang Fuping is the editor-in-chief.
He's not the
My
CEO.
colleague, Representative Burgess, a few minutes ago exposed that TikTok and ByteDance share legal teams. You confirmed this, correct?
Our general counsel is
Yes.
an
Yes or
American lawyer,
Yes.
veteran of Microsoft.
Also, my
many
colleague, Representative Latta, confirmed that your parent company, ByteDance, currently can access user data. Yes?
We have to be more
Yes.
specific.
Yes.
After
You
Project
say-
Texas, no.
I'm not asking after Project Texas, I'm asking now. Yes.
Some user data is public data, Congresswoman, which
So
means
you
everybody
confirm that.
can search
What's
for it on the
interesting to
internet.
me is that you have used the word transparency over a half a dozen times in your opening testimony and subsequently again in your answers to my colleagues. Yet the interesting thing to me is that ByteDance, your parent company, has gone out of their way to hide and airbrush corporate structure, ties to the CCP, the company's founder, and their activities. You can look no further than the fact that ByteDance's website has been scrubbed. In fact, we found web pages from the Beijing Internet Association, the industry association charged with Communist Party building work of internet companies in Beijing. They have been archived, but since deleted. Makes you kind of wonder why. Yes or no, ByteDance is required to have a member of the Chinese government on its board with veto power. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. ByteDance owns some Chinese businesses, and you're talking about a very special subsidiary that is
Mr.
for
Shou,
Chinese business licensing.
Mr. Shou,
purposes.
I'm going to have to move on. You've said repeatedly that there is no threat, that this is a platform for entertainment and for fun. I have to ask you then, if there is no threat to Americans, if there is no threat to our data, privacy, security, why did an internal memo from TikTok corporate headquarters explicitly coach senior management to, quote, downplay the parent company ByteDance? Why would they say downplay the China Association and downplay AI? This is from an internal memo from your company. Why, if you had nothing to hide, would you need to downplay the association with ByteDance in China?
Congresswoman, I have not seen this memo.
You can't
What I
answer
can
that
say-
question. Mr. Shou, I'd like to direct your attention to the screen for a short video, if you don't mind. Mr. Shou, that video was posted 41 days ago. As you can see, it is captioned me as F at the House Energy and Commerce Committee on March 23rd of this year. This video was posted before this hearing was publicly noticed. I think that's a very interesting point to raise. But more concerning is the fact that it names this chairwoman by name. Your own community guidelines state that you have a firm stance against enabling violence on or off TikTok. We do not allow people to use our platform to threaten or incite violence or to promote violent extremist organizations, individuals, or acts. When there is a threat to public safety or an account is used to promote or glorify off-platform violence, we ban the account. This video has been up for 41 days. It is a direct threat to the chairwoman of this committee, the people in this room, and yet it still remains on the platform. And you expect us to believe that you are capable of maintaining the data security, privacy, and security of 150 million Americans where you can't even protect the people in this room? I think that is a blatant display of how vulnerable people who use TikTok are. You couldn't take action after 41 days when a clear threat, a very violent threat to the chairwoman of this committee and the members of this committee was posted on your platform. You damn well know that you cannot protect the data and security of this committee or the 150 million users of your app because it is an extension of the CCP. And with that, I yield back.
Can I respond, Chair?
No, we're going to move on. Gentlelady yields back. Chairman recognizes the lady from California, Ms. Matsui, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I'm really glad that we're having this very important hearing here today. And let me just say, make no mistake, the Chinese government represents a real and immediate threat. Look no further than even the vulnerable gear still in our telecom networks that needs to be ripped and replaced. But we can't lose sight of the important internet governance issues TikTok and other social media companies represent. I'm especially committed to demanding transparency from large platforms about the algorithms that shape our online interactions, especially for teenagers and young users. And that's why I introduced the Algorithmic Justice and Online Platform Transparency Act to bring greater visibility into this ecosystem. My bill would prohibit algorithms that discriminate on the basis of race, age, gender, ability, and other protected characteristics. It also would establish a safety and effectiveness standard for algorithms while requiring new forms of oversight. Now, this bill would require online platforms to publish annual public reports detailing their content moderation practices, which I believe should be a baseline requirement to enable meaningful oversight and consumer choice. Mr. Chu, just yes or no, do you believe a requirement for annual content moderation practices for social media platforms would be beneficial? Yes or no?
Yes.
This transparency bill would also require online platforms to maintain detailed records describing their algorithmic process for review by the Federal Trade Commission in compliance with key privacy and data identification standards. Mr. Chu, does TikTok currently maintain records describing their algorithmic processes? Yes or no?
Congressman, I will need to check and get back to you on what kind of specific records you are talking about.
I wait for that. Over the past few years, alarming information brought to light by whistleblowers have shown that social media companies are intimately aware of the effect their products have on young women, political extremism, and more. Despite this, they withheld those studies or declined to investigate further. In either case, it shows a pattern evasive or negligent behavior that I find concerning in the extreme. Mr. Chu, does TikTok conduct its own studies on the effect of its algorithms and content distribution models on mental health or safety? And if so, how and when are those findings made public? And if not, do you believe they are necessary?
Congresswoman, we rely on external third parties and fund their research to help us understand some of these issues. For example, we worked with the Digital Wellness Lab at the Boston Children's Hospital to understand the 60-minute time limit that we put for all our under 18 users. And we are supportive of legislation that provides more funding for research, like, for example, for the NIH.
Okay. TikTok tailors its recommended content based on user activity to encourage people to spend more time on the app. While this practice is by no means unique to TikTok, given the prevalence of young users and the digestible nature of short-form video, I'm concerned about the app's tendency to exacerbate existing mental health challenges. Mr. Chu, does TikTok have different policies for amplifying content that would be related to depression or dieting versus content like gardening and sports? If yes, describe these policy differences. If no, why not?
Congresswoman, thank you for that. This is a great question. The answer is yes. We are trying out some policies together with experts to understand certain contents that are not inherently harmful, like extreme fitness, for example, but shouldn't be seen too much. And these are models that we're building, and we are trying to understand, together with experts, how to best implement them across our platform, particularly for younger users,
Okay,
under
so
18. Yeah.
in cases where users have been engaging with potentially harmful content, I believe it's imperative that the app takes steps to moderate that behavior rather than continuing to promote it. I mean, in a sense,
I apologize.
about that.
I wasn't clear. First, anything that is violative and harmful, we remove. What I meant to say were content that is not inherently harmful. Like some of the extreme fitness videos about people running 100 miles. It's not inherently harmful, but if we show them too much, the experts are telling us that we should disperse them more and make sure that they're not seen too regularly,
So
especially by younger
you're very
users.
intentional about that then? It's something that you'll...
We are working on it,
moderate.
yes. Yeah.
You're working on it?
Yes.
Okay. I yield back.
Jenny, gentle lady yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Bill Rockus, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for holding this hearing. Mr. Chu, your algorithms have prioritized providing harmful content directly to children, like self-harm challenges and even suicide. Just 3 days ago, Italy opened an investigation into the TikTok over user safety concerns after the so-called French scar challenge went viral on your platform. I know you know about the blackout challenge, which others may know as the choking challenge that encourages children to bring them to the point of unconsciousness or in some cases, tragically, death. If that isn't enough, I want to share the story of Chase Naska, a 16-year-old boy from New York who tragically ended his life a year ago by stepping in front of a train. I want to thank his parents. Again, they are here. I want to thank his parents for being here today and allowing us to show this. Mr. Chu, your company destroyed their lives. Your company destroyed their lives. I admire their courage to be here and share Chase's story in the hopes that it will prevent this from happening to other families. The content in Chase's For You page was not a window to discovery, as you boldly claimed in your testimony. It wasn't content from a creator that you invited to roam the hill today, or STEM education content that children in China see. Instead, his For You page was sadly a window to discover suicide. It is unacceptable, sir, that even after knowing all these dangers, you still claim TikTok is something grand to behold. I want you to see what Chase would see. And I think if you want, again, would you share this content with your children, with your two children? Would you want them to see this? And again, I want to warn everyone watching that you may find this content disturbing, but we need to watch this, please.
Blair tip. You got to kill yourself.
Oh, word? Like right now?
And then I'm gonna put a shotgun in my mouth and blow the brains out of the back of my head.
Cool.
This is a cute story. My brother, who is addicted to painkillers, blew his head off on the State Street Bridge. Bam! Now hold on, it gets better. No letter, no goodbye, nothing.
Got a question. If I died, would you miss me?
Mr. Chu, please. Your technology is literally leading to death. Mr. Chu, yes or no? Do you have full responsibility for your algorithms used by TikTok to prioritize content to its users? Yes or no, please?
Congressman, I'll just like to, if respectfully, if you don't mind, I would just like to start by saying it's devastating to hear about the news of,
yes,
as a father myself, this is
sir,
tragic.
Yes or no? I'll repeat the question. Do you have full responsibility over the algorithms used by TikTok to prioritize content to its users? Yes or no, please?
Congressman, we do take these issues very seriously.
Yes or no?
And we do provide resources for anyone who types in anything that
Sir,
is suicide
yes or
related.
no? I see you're not willing to answer the question or take any responsibility for your parents' companies, the technology, and the harms it creates. It's just very, very sad. Very sad.
It's very sad.
This is why Congress needs to enact a comprehensive privacy and data security law to give Americans more control over their information and to protect our children. We must save our children from big tech companies like yours who continue to abuse and manipulate them for your own gain. And I'll yield back, Madam Chair.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the lady from Florida, Ms. Castor, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, it is urgent that the Congress pass an online data privacy law that protects the personal privacy of Americans online, and particularly our kids. While this hearing shines a light on TikTok, this hearing also should serve as a call to action for the Congress to act now to protect Americans from surveillance, tracking, personal data gathering, and addictive algorithmic operations that serve up harmful content and has a corrosive effect on our kids' mental and physical well-being. For many years, I've sounded the alarm in this committee of how big tech platforms like TikTok and Facebook and Instagram incessantly surveil, track, gather personal private information, and use it along with data brokers to target and influence our behavior. This is a much broader issue than TikTok in China. There are other malign actors across the world who gather data to use it as an element of social control and influence peddling and worse. And as I detailed in this committee last year when we passed our online privacy law, the harms to children are very serious and demand swift action. Big tech platforms profit immensely from keeping children addicted. They do not care about the privacy, safety, and health of our kids. They are the modern-day tobacco and cigarette companies that for so long resisted and misled Congress. And it took action by the Congress to actually protect our kids and to outlaw smoking by young people. In early 2020, based upon the growing body of evidence to harm to kids online, I introduced the Kids Privacy Act and the Kids Act. And I want to thank all of the researchers, the young people, the parents, the Surgeon General of the United States who have explained the correlation between social media usage and body dissatisfaction, disordered eating habits, anxiety, depression, self-injury, suicide ideation, and cyberbullying. Heck, Frances Haugen, the Facebook whistleblower, was right here and testified to us that Facebook and Instagram conducted research on this topic. They knew and understood the harms, but they continued to elevate profits over the well-being of children. And TikTok does the same. Last Congress, when we passed the ADPPA, the committee incorporated many of these important child online privacy and safety provisions from my bills, but we can make the 118th Congress's version of this bill, of this new law, even more protective of children, and I look forward to working with the chair and the ranking member to make that happen. Mr. Chu, TikTok has incredible sway over children in the U.S., but you don't have a very good track record. In 2019, TikTok was hit with the largest civil penalty by the Federal Trade Commission in a children's privacy case. 4 years later, TikTok still has not taken sufficient action to fix the problems. I assume because child users are incredibly profitable to your bottom line. So answer me this. TikTok allows advertisers to specifically target advertising to children aged 13 to 17, correct?
Congresswoman, I do want to disagree with the statement that child abuses are not allowed on our platform at all. It's deplorable conduct and it's not allowed on our platform.
Do you target advertising to young people aged 13 to 17?
We do serve personalized advertising at this point, but the policies are very safe for them.
How much money does TikTok make selling ads targeted to minors?
Congresswoman, can I clarify minors in what age?
From just say age 13 to 17.
For the teenage population, I want to clarify that we do have a under 13 experience and zero advertising on that platform. For those,
well, that's a whole other topic.
Okay. Between 13 and 17, if you don't mind, I'll check into my team and get back to you on those answers.
You know, TikTok could be designed to minimize the harm to kids, but a decision was made to aggressively addict kids in the name of profits. And it's our responsibility, members, to act swiftly to address this. This has gone on for too long. We've dilly-dallied too much. This committee, thankfully, we've taken responsibility and acted, but we have an enormous responsibility to act swiftly and get this bill to the floor of the House and passed into law as soon as possible. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Johnson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chu, I'm an information technology professional, been doing it for the most of my life. You've been evasive in many of your answers. I'm going to talk to you in some language that maybe you'll better understand, ones and zeros, okay? Let's talk about the Citizen Lab report. This is something your team frequently mentions in hearings as a way to exonerate yourself. For example, in the limitations section, it reads, we could not examine every source code component and test in the apps in every circumstance, which means our methods could not find every security issue, privacy violation, and censorship event. So it's an incomplete assessment. The report notes that TikTok's data collection using third-party trackers was in apparent conflict with the GDPR and that multiple themes were censored by TikTok. What is shocking to me is the shared source code between TikTok in the United States and the CCP-censored Douyin. The Citizen Labs report says that many of the functions and classes were identical and that the differences in behavior between TikTok in the United States and Douyin in China are slight changes in hard-coded values. Incredibly, specific censorship parameters from Douyin are present in TikTok, but just turned off. The authors say that for unknown reasons, the parameter variable itself is preserved. So while Citizen Lab may have been afraid to say the obvious conclusion, Mr. Chu, I am not. TikTok's source code is riddled with backdoors and CCP censorship devices. Here's the truth. In a million lines of code, the smallest shift from a 0 to a 1 on just one of thousands of versions of TikTok on the market will unlock explicit CCP censorship and access to American data. Mr. Chu, as CEO of TikTok, why have you not directed your engineers to change this source code?
Congressman, thank you for the question.
Have you directed them to change the source code?
Like what we are offering and
Yes
my
or
fourth
no?
commitment?
Have you directed them to change that source code?
Congressman, if you give me a bit of time to just
No,
explain this.
I don't. It's a yes or no question. Have you directed your engineers to change that source code?
I'm not sure I understand.
Why are you allowing TikTok to continue to have the capacity for censorship, and yet you claim here that you don't? Let me remind you of something. Do you realize that making false and misleading statements to Congress is a federal crime?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So have you directed your engineers to change that source code?
I am giving third-party access monitoring by experts. And Congressman, you are an expert on this. You could agree with me that no other company
TikTok
does
source
this.
code is the same as Douyin? What percentage?
I can get back to you on the specifics.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Where was the source code for TikTok developed? Was it developed in China or in the United States?
It's a global collaborative effort, like a lot of code for a lot of companies.
Was it developed in China? Some of it?
Some of it is.
Okay, at ByteDance. When it's compiled in the compilation process, can bytecode be manipulated? We've talked a lot about source code. What about the bytecode, the ones and zeros that actually execute on the device? Can it be manipulated? Yes.
Congressman, to give you comfort, that's why we're giving third-party monitors.
Yes,
As an expert, I think you can agree that very few companies
I've got
offer
the
to do this.
report here by Citizen Lab. I want to read you something from Ron Diebert. Specifically, in your written testimony to Congress, you stated on page 9, Citizen Lab found that there was no overt data transmission by TikTok to the Chinese government and that TikTok did not contact any servers within China. You implied that Citizen Lab exonerated TikTok from any information sharing with China. Well, the director of Citizen Lab saw this and issued a statement correcting the record yesterday. And I'm quoting Ron Diebert, the director of the lab. I am disappointed that TikTok executives continue citing the Citizen Lab's research in their statements to government as somehow exculpatory. I've called them out on this in the past, and it's unfortunate that I have to do it again, unquote. He goes on to say, and I quote, we even speculated about possible mechanisms through which the Chinese government might use unconventional techniques to obtain TikTok user data via pressure on ByteDance, end of quote. Mr. Chu, you sent Congress written testimony citing this lab as a support of your claim that China cannot access user data. U.S. user data. And now this lab has come out to say, we never said that. That's misleading, Mr. Chu. I hope you understand what that is. That's misleading. Mr. Chu, this is yet another instance of TikTok attempting to mislead Americans about what their technology is capable of and who has access to their information. Madam Chair, I'd like to
Madam Chair, I
enter
would like
the
to respond to
statement
that
by
very
Ron
quickly,
Deibert
please.
and the Citizens Lab into the record.
Without objection.
With
so
that, I
ordered.
yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair yields to the gentleman from Maryland. Mr. Sarbanes, 5 minutes.
Thanks very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Chu, I'm going to pick up on a theme we've already covered here, which is the effect that your platform, along with many other social media platforms, by the way, has in terms of mental and behavioral health in this country. I won't speak to what's happening elsewhere in the world, but we've talked about the impact that it's having on children, on teens. We took some action last year in this committee to try to improve access to resources, reauthorize critical programs to address mental health needs, but we need to do even more than that. And we got to address what the big tech companies like TikTok are doing, because those are platforms that expose children, teens to additional risks. The more time that middle and high schoolers spend on social media, the evidence is the more likely they are to experience depression and anxiety. And this is particularly troubling since apparently 16% of American teenagers report that they use TikTok, quote, almost constantly. That's, I think, about 5 million teenagers in this country that are on TikTok all the time. And we know that big tech, including TikTok, uses design features that can manipulate users, including children and teens, to keep them engaged, designed to feed them a never-ending stream of content, keep their attention for hours on end, which includes capitalizing on the desire for others' approval through like features, preying on the fear of missing out through push notifications, and so forth. Again, you're part of an industry that's set up to do this. You, in some sense, don't appear to be able to help yourselves in reaching out and finding that new user and then holding on to them. TikTok itself has acknowledged that these features and others, like the endless scroll feature, can have an outsized effect on teens. And we've been discussing today how your app only intensifies that harm by amplifying dangerous content and misinformation. I don't want to be too paternalistic here because we have young people in the audience. We've got TikTok users that are watching this hearing, and I'm sure they have their own ideas about how this technology is being managed by TikTok and other social media platforms. They like to access the platforms, and they should be able to do that safely, so it's certainly in their interest, and they can drive this conversation, I think, perfectly well. But it's not a fair fight, is it? I mean, the algorithms are on one side of the screen. The human brain is on the other side of the screen, drowning in these algorithms, in many instances at an age where the brain's not even fully developed yet. So those addictive impulses are being sort of perfected by the technology, and again, it leaves the users sort of helpless in the face of that. Are you looking at ways to redesign core features like the ones I mentioned to be less manipulative, and addictive for users, and can you commit to making some of those modifications here today?
Congressman, thank you. We do want to be leading in terms of safety of our users, particularly for teenagers. We were the first to launch a 60-minute watch limit.
Yeah, let's talk about the 60-minute launch.
And I'm very glad to see people, others in our industry follow. For many of your recommendations, we'll study them very seriously. Yeah. We actually have a series of features. Like, for example, if you're under 16, you cannot use a direct messaging feature because we want to protect those younger users. If you're under 16, you cannot go viral by default. If you're under 18, you cannot go live. And
let me go back to the 60-minute limit because my understanding is that teens can pretty easily bypass the notification to continue using the app if they want to. I mean, let's face it, our teens are smarter than we are by half. and they know how to use the technology, and they can get around these limits if they want to. Are you measuring how many teens continue to exceed the 60 minutes of time on that app?
We
Any sense
understand
how that's working?
we understand those concerns. Our intention is to have the teens and their parents have these conversations about what is the appropriate amount of time for social media. That's why we give the parents what we call family
Let me
pairing.
ask you this question before I run out of time. If you concluded that putting some reasonable limits in place and trying to find a way to enforce them would lead some percentage of your users to leave TikTok and go somewhere else, is that something that you're prepared to accept?
Yes.
Really? Well, I'd love to get the research on how these limits are being implemented, how they're being bypassed, and the things that you're taking, the measures you're taking to address those issues going forward. Please bring that information back to our committee as we move forward.
I'll be happy to.
I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Guthrie, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for yielding. I appreciate the time. Mr. Chu, your terms of service specifically state that TikTok does, and I quote, not allow the depiction, promotion, or trade of drugs or other controlled substances. Despite this content being against your terms of service, and I've brought this up with other service providers, but despite this content being against your terms of service, content on your platform related to illicit drugs like fentanyl, drug trafficking, and other illicit activity is pervasive and racks up hundreds of thousands of views. For example, in 2020, the Benadryl challenge resulted in the death of an American teenager. And we heard of another one challenge earlier today that brought a death of a teenager. While you were at ByteDance, if you were the CFO for ByteDance, did doing allow related illicit drug trafficking or challenges resulting in death or injury to kids?
Congressman, I represent TikTok here today. I can tell you that TikTok does not allow illegal drugs content on our platform.
Does do it in China?
I believe they don't allow this, but I will need to check. I don't run their business.
My
I can tell you
question
TikTok does not allow this.
This is what we're concerned about, and my guess, and it would DoIN allow for 41 days a threat against a member of the Chinese Communist Party to stand on their site for 41 days?
Again, I cannot speak for DoIN, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second part of what you said.
Well, we had a threat against the chairman of our committee that was on your site for 41 days. My guess is that would not be allowed in China.
That content is, if it's violative, I will look into the specifics, and if it violates our guidelines, it will be taken down on TikTok.
Yeah, it surely appears that it does. But the problem is what I'm trying to get at is you seem to be able to prevent this content in China, but so not even taking it down, just prevent it from being posted, and yet it's on your website. So I have a couple of questions about, you said earlier, as soon as you find this information, you take it down. So how quickly does your algorithm detect keywords or content that involve illicit drug trafficking before these posts are self-reported or used by others?
We have about 40,000 people working on this now, together with the machines that we train. I don't think any company in our industry can be perfect at this. This is a real big challenge for our industry, but our goal is to get any violative content, including illegal drugs, down to a very, very small number.
That's the problem. When we have these hearings, we have CEOs of different companies and of your colleagues and competitors, and we always hear apologies, and we always hear, we want to do better at this, but it just doesn't seem to keep improving, and we see hearing stories of our children, and obviously this has been talked about today. So how many posts and accounts have been identified and removed from TikTok due to content posted related to illicit drugs or other controlled substances?
Congressman, we do publish that in a transparency report. I can get my team to get the information to yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Also, we understand that the way that people use TikTok or other platforms similar to yours is that they ensure flagged user content isn't permitted to jump from. So my question, so what we've heard is that the instances the users see a drug advertisement and then give a code to go to another site. So my question is, do you work with other platforms to ensure flagged user content isn't permitted to jump from one platform to others?
I will check with my team. I would love to work with our industry to make sure that we stamp out these problems. Violative content should not be allowed on any platforms, in my opinion.
Well, so what's kind of frustrating to all of us here is that we look at what's happening on your sites and others, and particularly that we know, because we've done a research, that you can't have access to illicit drug information or others on DoIN, which is a sister company, as you say, in China. And so it absolutely, if you can prevent it on one and not the other, you obviously have the ability to stop it from moving forward. and yet you don't. Would you like to expand how one of your sister companies can prevent that and you not? I know you don't represent Douyin, but they don't allow it, but it happens on your platform. What's the difference?
First of all, the majority of the content on TikTok is fun, entertaining, informative, and very positive for our users. Like other companies that operate in this country, we have to deal with some bad actors who come and publish some content on illegal drugs. Other
The bad actors don't seem to be able to access Douyin.
The TikTok US experience should be compared to other US companies because this is a common challenge.
But your parent company has the technology to prevent it because you prevent it in China, but you can't prevent it here. What's the difference? That's why I'm asking.
Oh, Congressman, there is no technology that is perfect in doing this. We have to deal with the reality of the country that we're operating in. And here in the United States, as with other companies, we share this challenge. We are investing a lot to address the challenge, but we are, it's a shared challenge.
You invest a lot to seem to be able to address it in China, but not here.
Again, I think the comparison has been within the single country. We face the same set of challenges here in the US.
What's the difference with, I'm sorry, I'm out of time, but what's the difference in China and here?
Let me give you an example, Congressman. In my home country, Singapore, there is literally almost no illegal drug content because Singapore has very strict drug laws.
Thank you. My time's expired, now yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Tonko, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm concerned that TikTok's algorithm preys on vulnerable people, including those struggling with addiction, eating disorders, and other mental health conditions. The platform is designed to push content to users that will watch more frequently and for longer periods of time. Unfortunately, for many people suffering from certain mental health disorders, videos that reinforce their fears or negative self-image are more engaging. On top of that, TikTok has received sensitive patient health information and records of browsing activity from multiple telehealth companies like BetterHelp, and Cerebral. People's personal struggles should not be fuel for TikTok's profits. People should be able to seek help to address serious medical concerns without being afraid that their information will be shared with social media companies trying to push more products, services, or content at them. So, Mr. Chu, will TikTok continue to get information from third parties on its users' health, including their mental health? Yes or no?
We will continue to work with experts, yes, if that's the question, to identify these issues.
Will you continue to get information from these third parties, including their mental health? Yes or no?
Congressman, I'm sorry, I may not understand your question. If your question is if I'm working with them on these issues, the answer is yes.
It's not the question, it's will you continue to get information from these third parties on its users' health?
Get information. We do not get any user health information from third parties, Congressman.
You have talked a lot about user privacy and safety. Will you commit here today to no longer using data about users' health, particularly their mental health, to push them content or sell ads? Yes or no?
We take our users' mental health very seriously.
Yes or no?
As far as I'm aware, we don't do that, Congressman. It's not what the...
So the answer is no, you will no longer use data about users' health. TikTok systematically exploits users' anxieties by pushing alarming and distressing content onto their For You page. For example, in May of 2022, the LA Times found that some pregnant users searching for information about their pregnancies on TikTok were then shown information about miscarriages, stillbirths, and delivery room traumas. Your company knows that distressing content can have the perverse effect of feeding user engagement. And for TikTok, engagement means money. In the course of a week, what percentage of content that a user sees is considered potentially harmful or distressing content?
Congressman, we work with a lot of experts on this. Even before we set the 60-minute time limit for under 18s, if you spend too much time on our platform, you can try it. If you spend too much time, we will actually send you videos to tell you to go out and get some air and get off the platform.
What percentage of content that a user sees is considered potentially harmful?
I will need to follow up with my team and get back to you on that, if that's okay.
Ballpark.
I will need to follow up with my team.
So are teenagers in particular shown more distressing content?
The opposite is true. We actually put in more restrictions to make sure that our teenagers get a better experience.
Are expectant or new parents shown more distressing content?
I know of many parents, including one I met recently, who actually use our platform to find communities, to connect with other parents and learn a lot more. I've heard amazing stories of creators who have difficulties, and the
Reclaiming
challenges
my
they face.
time. Are individuals with eating disorders shown more distressing content?
We do not. We remove all content that glorifies eating disorders, and we have worked with experts to look at certain certain content that may not inherently be harmful, like diet trends, and make sure that we disperse them more throughout our algorithm.
What about those with mental health issues? Are they
This is
given
an
more
issue we take-
distressing content?
If a user searches, words that expresses mental health issues, we actually redirect them to a safety page. Like, for example, if you, I don't know if I should say this in public, if you search, "I want to die," we will redirect you to a safety page, for example.
So what about those suffering from addiction? Are they given more distressing content?
I'm sorry, Congressman, I missed that question.
Those suffering from addiction, are they given more distressing content?
I missed the first few words, I apologize.
What about those suffering from addiction? Are they given more distressing content?
Those suffering from
Addiction.
addiction. Do you mean drug addiction or?
Yes, or any order of addiction.
If people search for content, and you can try on a variety of subjects, we will actually direct you to a safety page to give you more resources. And a lot of recovering addicts have actually found their communities on TikTok, and it's really helped them, find their voices and the community and the courage to really overcome their addiction. I personally have heard stories of that.
Well, I appreciate your answers, but I was looking for yes or no, and we did not get those. And again, I think the more that they watch this distressing content, the more profit TikTok makes, and that's distressing.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Wahlberg, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and we're glad that you're here, Mr. Chu. As Chair Rogers and Representative Burgess mentioned this morning, the Wall Street Journal reported that China will firmly oppose any forced sale or divestiture of TikTok. And this is based not on conjecture, but it's based on comments provided by the official spokesperson at the Ministry of Commerce, who said that any TikTok sale or spinoff would amount to a technology export and would have to adhere to Chinese law and approval. This spokesperson was quoted as saying the Chinese, and I quote, "The Chinese government will make decisions according to the law." The Chinese government. Mr. Chu, do you agree with this official? Yes or no?
Congressman, I cannot speak on behalf of a Chinese government official.
Do you agree with that official?
We will need to look at this because Project Texas is designed to move forward here in the United States, and we are not discussing this, so I don't have specifics.
Your company is valued at upwards of $50 billion and has been on the verge of forced sale or ban for 3 years at least, correct? Do you expect this committee to believe you haven't already discussed this scenario with your team? And you should have an answer to this, yes or no, I agree with the Communist Party, or I don't agree with the Communist Party. So, I guess I would say at that point, you disagree with the Communist Party. Explain your discrepancy.
Congressman, for 2 years, we spent $1.5 billion US to build Project Texas. This is after very extensive discussions with relevant folks.
Project Texas is just something expanded for the future. We're talking about now. We're talking about what you're doing now, what your expectations are now, what your relationship is with the Communist Party, which is our major concern of what the impact that will be with a country. Let me rephrase that. With a Communist Party that doesn't care about America and sees us as standing in their way for superpower. That's our concern, and for you to have direct relationship, direct ownership with ByteDance, and to not have a characterization or an agreement or disagreement that you say explicitly with this party policy, it's hard for us to believe what you're saying. Let me move on. Following up on what Mr. Latta asked about data access by Chinese engineers. In responding to Mr. Latta, you talked about where American user data would be stored in the future. But the question was about access today. storage in the future versus access today. This is total redirection. This blows up any trust we could desire to develop. So to be clear, Mr. Chu, today, do ByteDance employees in Beijing have access to American data?
Congressman, we have been very open about this. We have relied on global interoperability.
You have access to American data.
Congressman, I'm answering your question if you give me just a bit of time. We rely on global interoperability, and we have employees in China. So yes, the Chinese engineers do have access to global data.
You have access to global data.
We have heard.
Not storage.
No, storage has always been in Virginia and Singapore. The physical service.
You have no access to storage, to American data today.
That's not what I said. I said.
So you do have access to American data, and you have storage of American data.
The American data has always been stored in Virginia and Singapore in the past. And access of this is on an as-required basis by our engineers globally. By engineers for business purposes.
By engineers?
This is a private company.
ByteDance?
ByteDance.
The Communist Party?
No.
Why? How can you say that?
This is a
if they have access.
Private business. This is a private business, and is like many other businesses, many other American companies. We rely on the global workforce.
So the global workforce that includes ByteDance, which is connected directly to the Chinese Communist Party,
that is a
access.
characterization that we disagree with. Now, in the future,
that's not what we can disagree with. That's a fact.
It's not, unfortunately.
With the CEO of ByteDance and your relationship to them.
Congressman, respectfully, in my opening statement, I said this is a private company. It's owned 60% by global investors. 3 out of the 5 board members on ByteDance are Americans. This is a private business.
And you report directly to ByteDance with the CEO who is a member of the Communist Party. Let me move on.
He's not.
I think we got the answer. Sadly, at this point, I believe my time has expired, so I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ms. Clark for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Rogers. Thank the ranking member, Pallone, for holding today's hearing. Throughout this hearing, I also want to thank our witness for being here to testify on what are very important issues before us today. Throughout this hearing, my colleagues have outlined the potential threat posed by the security of Americans' data by TikTok being affiliated and some would say owned by a Chinese company. Foreign adversaries having direct access to Americans' data, as well as the ability to influence this content Americans see on a prolific social media platform, represents an unprecedented threat to American security and to our democracy. However, the problems of social media platforms, content moderation, algorithmic discrimination, and safety are neither new nor unique to TikTok. Mr. Chu, I share the concerns raised by my colleague, Congresswoman Matsui, related to algorithms. I believe that without mitigation against bias, platforms will continue to replicate, exacerbate discrimination that is illegal under civil rights law, as well as exclude important dialogue about sensitive topics like race from occurring on the platform. For example, I was disturbed by reports that TikTok content moderation algorithm flagged words like Black or Black Lives Matter as inappropriate content. So my first question, Mr. Chu, is do you agree that platforms like TikTok should be subject to regular audits or transparency requirements to identify whether policies have a disparate impact on communities that are protected classes like race, religion, national origin, or gender?
I think, Congresswoman, I think platforms should be very transparent on what they do there and disclose a lot of information. We can get back on the specifics of what we mean by an audit, but I do agree very strongly that platforms should be very transparent, and it's a commitment that we're giving to this committee and all our users, that our platform will be a place for freedom of expression. We embrace all diverse points of view, all ethnic minorities, You can come and say whatever you want, as long as you don't violate the rules of safety that were put in place. And we also commit to be free of all and any government manipulation. So I think I'm in strong agreement with a lot of what you said.
Well, thank you. My bill, the Algorithmic Accountability Act, would require platforms to be transparent about their algorithms, measure disparate impact, and require risk mitigation. It is vital that the diverse culture of the United States is reflected online, but I'm concerned the algorithms and content moderation practices employed by TikTok are ignorant to the fundamental diversity while also failing to remove content that is harmful, like child sexual abuse material, hate speech, or domestic terrorism content. My next question to you is, it's my understanding that users must be in good standing to be eligible for compensation from TikTok's Creator Fund. For example, they can't have violated community guidelines. Is this correct?
There are some details there, but directionally, yes.
If TikTok's algorithm is flagging content incorrectly, resulting in creators violating community guidelines when in fact they have not, those creators would not be eligible to receive compensation under the Creator Fund, correct?
We do have an appeals process.
You have an appeals process, okay.
Yes,
In my view, if TikTok employs algorithms that disproportionately remove content from Black creators, it disproportionately silences and excludes Black creators from compensation opportunities. And this problem happens in parallel to the lack of adequate recognition, attribution, and compensation to Black creatives for their content. The exploitation, cultural misappropriations, the erasure of Black creatives' ownership of their fashion, art, and media is nothing new. We need transparency, accountability, and bold action to mitigate against misinformation, bias, and exclusion of certain communities from the opportunities present on platforms like TikTok. So let me just say this. I'm concerned about transparency. I am concerned about algorithmic accountability. And I'm not clear that your organization holds those values. So I want to ask that you take a look at this because this is all part and parcel of what we're concerned about with respect to social media platforms and the misappropriation, the ways in which those algorithms can discriminate within the context of the social media platform. With that, Madam Chair, I yield back.
Congresswoman, is it okay if I just very quickly respond? This is a very important topic.
Unfortunately, we only have 4.5 hours with you, and I'm going to try to get to every member, so we're going to keep going.
It is very important. I would love to follow up.
There will be other opportunities. The lady yields back. Gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Buddy Carter, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Crew, welcome to the most bipartisan committee in Congress. We may not always agree on how to get there, but we care about our national security. We care about our economy, and we sure as heck care about our children. We sure do. And that's why you're here today, because 2/3 of all the youth in our country are on your app. They spend an average of 95 minutes on your app. And you know, research has shown that TikTok is the most addictive platform out there. And the reason for that, as we've been told, is because it has the most advanced algorithm. And the Chinese Communist Party knows this, and I don't speak for everyone, but there are those on this committee, including myself, who believe that the Chinese Communist Party is engaged in psychological warfare through TikTok to deliberately influence U.S. children. You know, you see behind me, if you look behind me, Mr. Crew, you see some of the challenges that we've seen on TikTok. You know about them. You know about the milk crate. You know about the blackout challenge. You know about the NyQuil chicken challenge, the Benadryl challenge, the dragon's breath liquid nitrogen trend, or the challenge that promotes car theft. I want to ask you, as I understand it, there's a sister app in China, Douyin. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation. Do they have these same things over there? Do they have these kind of challenges? in China?
Congressman, I'm really glad you asked this question.
Do they, yes or no?
I'm not sure because
Yeah, whoa, come on now. You're not sure?
I really am not sure.
Remember, you took the chair lady, she said you got to tell the truth, okay? Do you know whether they have these kind of challenges like this over in China? Because it's my understanding they don't.
I'm not sure because I spend my energies running TikTok.
And you don't look at any of your other competitors or look at anything similar to yours. So you don't know whether they have. They don't have this over in China.
I did.
We have it here, but they don't have it here. And that's why I'm asking you this. Why is it that TikTok consistently fails to identify and moderate these kinds of harmful videos? Why is it? Why is it that you allow this to go on? We've already heard, God bless you, from parents who are here with us, who have lost children. I submit to you, everybody up here cares about the children of this country. Tell me why.
This is a real industry challenge, and we're working
No, it's
very
not
hard.
industry. This is TikTok.
It's
We're talking about TikTok. We're talking about why is it that you can't control this? And although I believe in giving credit where credit's due, I want to thank you. It's my understanding that the video that threatened life of the chairwoman has been removed. Thank you for doing that. Sorry we had to bring it to your attention here, but it's been removed. Tell me why this goes on.
This is an industry challenge for all of us here operating in this
Okay,
country.
so much for industry challenge. I want to shift gears real quick. I want to talk about biometric matrix, and I want to talk specifically, can you tell me right now, can you say with 100% certainty that TikTok does not use the phone's camera to determine whether the content that elicits a pupil dilation should be amplified by the algorithm? Can you tell me that?
We do not collect body, face, or voice data to identify our users. We do not. The only face data that you will get, that we collect, is when you use the filters to have, say, sunglasses on your face. We need to know where your eyes are. And
why do you need to know what the eyes are if you're not seeing if they're dilated?
And that data is stored on your local device and deleted after use if you use it for facial. Again, we do not collect body, face, or voice data to identify our users.
I find that hard to believe. It's our understanding that they're looking at the eyes. How do you determine what age they are then?
We rely on age gating as our key age assurance.
Age
gating, which is when you ask the user what age they are. We have also developed some tools where we look at their public profile to go through the videos that they post to see whether...
Well, that's creepy. Tell me more about that.
It's public. So if you post a video, you choose that video to go public, that's how you get people to see your video. We look at those to see if it matches up the age that you talked about. Now, this is a real challenge for our industry because privacy versus age assurance is a really big problem.
Look, you keep talking about the industry. We're talking about TikTok here. We're talking about children dying. Do you know how many children have died because of this? Do you have any idea? Can you tell me?
Congressman, again, it's heartbreaking.
Can you tell me how many children in America have died because of challenges like this?
The majority of people who use our platform use it for positive experiences.
That's not what I ask you. I ask you, tell me the number of children, of U.S. children who have died because of these challenges.
Congressman, again, the majority of people who come on our platform get a good experience.
I'm not talking about the majority of children. I want to know a number.
Dangerous challenges are not allowed on our platform. If we find them, we will remove them. We take this very seriously.
Obviously, you found one today and you removed it. We had to bring it to your attention, and I know I'm out of time. Thank you for being here. Welcome again to the most bipartisan committee in Congress.
Gentleman yields back. We will now take a brief recess and resume in 10 minutes. The committee stands in recess.